Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rune. So today we'll be doing the top 10 mentor cards of Magic. So now at number 10. So we're going to start off with Nentuko Mentor from Odyssey. It's a rare going for 29 cents on the market. It costs 3 for this 1/1, which is an insect druid. But it does cost 3, that's why it's a payback for its ability. Target creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is that creature's power. Other than a creature having trample, this card I think is actually not that really good. So let's move on to number 9. Next on the list is Respplittant Mentor from Shadowmoor. It's an uncommon going for 34 cents on the market. I'm kind of laughing because it costs 5 mana for a 2/2. White creatures you control have tap, you gain 1 life. But for 5 mana, oh, that's just too expensive. Just at that point, you should be doing so much more, even with the color white. So let's move on to number 8. And now we have is Corrosive Mentor from Shadowmere. It's an uncommon going for $1.92 on the market. This one costs 3 for a 1/3. It says black creature you control have Wither, so they deal damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. And I think that's actually pretty good for an uncommon. I think that's unique, especially with that ability that doesn't exist anymore. So let's move on to number 7. And now we have the good old Kazamia. Well, she is from various sets. It's an uncommon going for 30 cents on the market. This Planeswalker costs 4 for a 5, but it's actually pretty cool because the spells your opponents cast that target a creature or Planeswalker you control cost 2 more to cast. With it being costing 4, I think this is actually a pretty good ability. For -2, create a 2/2 blue wizard creature token, draw a card, then discard. I don't really care about that, it's just the fact that it stops opponents from targeting. But sadly, that's pretty expensive if compared to everything that you could play in blue, but I like this one. So let's move on to number 6. And we have is Bloodmark Mentor from various sets. It's an uncommon going for $2.41. So that's very impressive for an uncommon. It costs 2 for this 1/1. Red creatures you control have first strike. This feels like it should be a rare for amount of cost and what it can do. But I believe there are better mentor cards. So this is the reason why it's at number 6. So let's move halfway down our list to number 5. And we got, well, Monastery Mentor various sets. It's a mythic going for $2.63. And that's most likely because it is part of the standard rotation at the time of this video. It costs 3 for a 2/2. Prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white Moken creature token with prowess. So just keep pumping out those creatures. That's why it's at number 5. It's incredible. But again, there are better ones. So let's move on to number 4. And well, we have Conclave Mentor from various sets. It's an uncommon going for 34 cents. I think this is actually pretty powerful because considering it costs 2 mana for a 2/2, that's pretty impressive in and itself. If one or more +1/+1 counters will be put on a creature you control, that many +1/+1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. And when it dies, you gain life equal to its power. That's pretty powerful. It's very underrated, but you just need to make sure you get those counter things in play to make this work. So let's move on to number 3. Next on the list is Lull Mage Mentor from Zendikar. It's a rare going for at a whopping 164. Well, it has that merfolk in it, so that's kind of cool. It costs 3 for this 2/2. And we care about it because this is tap 7 untap merfolk control counter target spell. So as long as you have 7 in play, you can tap them. This just comes completely annoying. But whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may put a 1/1. So there is that kind of drawback. But with Merfolk and Blue, you can pull this off. This is why it's very, very incredible. So let's move on to number 2. And well, just like before, this is a Merfolk. It's a Deep Channel Mentor from Shadowmere. It's an uncommon for $4.81. 6 mana for 2/2, but blue creatures you control are unblockable. So if you have a lot of creatures and somehow get this in play, that we would call a game over play card. And there's not much more to say that once it gets in play and you have a lot of creatures, you win, like I just said. So let's move on to number 1. And believe it or not, we got a good old Jani, Mentor of Heroes. From various sets, it's a mythic going for $6.89. This one costs 5, but it's all the abilities you can do. I like that. All right, let's start off. Distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control. And that is just a +1 for the +1. There's no minuses other than the last one. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an aura creature or planeswalker card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library and in your And guess what? -8. You gain 100 life. I just, wow, incredible. And there's a lot of cards that say if you have a certain amount of life, you win the game. Great combo, especially with green and white, because I believe those cards are white. And just, you gain 100 life. How does that even happen in Magic? How? And that's why it's at number 1. For mentor cards, this is the number 1 mentor card. So I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening.